In this video, I'm going to walk you through the process of applying reverb to a whole mix step by step and demonstrate it on a real world track right in front of you. So if you've seen loads of videos about reverb online but aren't really sure how it all ties together and how to apply it to a real world track, keep watching. This is actually an extract from one of our recent live streaming sessions as part of Home Studio University. So if you want to see a whole mix start to finish, be sure to check that out. But for now, let's dive right into this extract.
Let's do reverb. Woo! Fun stuff. So my go-to is Pro R, and I find the easiest way to do this is just whack some reverb on maybe just the whole mix to find a good sounding reverb. And then we'll go through and we'll actually just then kind of set the levels. Create a send, whole mix. So this is going to sound horrific at first, but find a good plugin and then play with the tone a little bit, and then we'll go through and actually choose our kind of mix of reverb. My go-to is FABFILTER Pro R, but a few other good ones, a Valhalla Room, Untitled Stereo Room, there's loads out there and they all sound quite different, which is why when it comes to most reverbs like EQ compression, I say have a workhorse, have one that is your go-to, but when it comes to reverb, different plugins work in different situations. Having said that, I find this is really flexible, and equally Chroma Reverb, which comes with Logic, equally your stock reverb, so at the same time don't worry about it too much. The first thing I'm going to do is adjust the timing. On here it's called space. Sometimes it'll be called like decay time. This one's got a decay rate, which is slightly different. So reverbs are all a bit different, but the first thing you want to do is just adjust the length of the reverb. Then we can play around with the tone a little bit. And you want to do it to the tempo. So in this case, like here, it's too long. Keep moving on. It's overlapping several beats. Focus on the snare. You want it to really fade out before the next snare. And I know it's hard because he's using brushes and like there's lots of smaller accents, but those like main accents. Take a deep breath, you might find that at dawn. Cool. Then I'm going to do the same just to compare, because normally I end up using one of these. I've got a preset here. Help the star. Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help the star, not this time, no, not this time, come on this time. Whoa. Let's go back to that loudest section again and loop that. Sounds kind of weird on the snare, getting a bit of a like kind of slap backy sound. So I can adjust the depth there so that it's more kind of the lush reverb tail and less of the immediate kind of delay. Sounds like it's in a bathroom, whereas this. But I think I preferred the sound of this one, especially on the snare. Close though. This one just sounds a bit more modern. It actually takes up a bit less space as well. So as per usual, that one wins. And if you then have different rooms, as you saw me do there, just shuffle through them. But now that we've got kind of like a bit of a workable sound, let's tweak the other settings. Because we've got a lot of the instruments only pan like halfway, I'm going to create loads of width on this one so that we can just fill out that stereo field a little bit more. Equally, sometimes mono reverb works really well. If it's a very cluttered stereo field, you don't have to use stereo reverb. You can use mono reverb and still get the same depth and space, just not the same width. And equally, if you're using reverb on individual instruments, let's say the guitars, already I'm using mono reverb on the guitars because I'm using a reverb pedal. But again, another situation where you don't have to use stereo. But in this case, because it's live, so I'm just going to use one reverb and lean on this really heavily rather than creating like kind of several layers of reverb. And also because it sounded weird with hard panned acoustic and hard panned electric and stuff, so we'll get some width from this. So the next thing is to ask, okay, what do we need to do tonally? Because we could just leave the reverb like this, but if we boost top end of the reverb, it makes the whole track sound brighter. So guess what? We're going to listen to references again, and this time focus on the overall tonal balance, because this is just another way besides mix bus EQ, we can just kind of nudge the whole mix in the right direction, make it brighter or warmer or whatever we want to do.
Wake to see that no one is free. We're all fugitives down when
and to do this, I'm just gonna have to mute that bass.
Down when running down. It was not your fault but mine. And it was your deny my dear. Then my road taken away to the dark side.
I feel like maybe we've lost a bit of warmth, but at the same time, it doesn't need kind of more presence in the low mids, maybe a bit lower. Let's try that. So I'm not sure about that, but we'll come back to it after we've got the rough balance going. So tonally, that's sounding all right, but obviously we don't want to choose it on the whole mix like that. So we'll turn that off. And now I'm going to blend in the individual parts, just depending on how far away from the listener I want them to be. So we'll use a little bit on the vocals, see if it sounds all right, but it's pretty much going to be on like everything else. And let's start with the snare. Acoustic, I want to be quite front and center, so we're just going to give it a bit of space to stop it from sounding so dry. So this is before, after. Just makes it sound a bit more normal and finished. I want to push the electric here back, but I don't want to push the other one too far back, because that was like in the verses, so we'll come back to that. So that's why I'm doing it on the channel and not on the bus. I want to create a really roomy sound with the vocals in this last bit to give it that kind of live, the whole band singing kind of vibe. So using quite a lot on these. Because I want it to have, again, quite a live, cohesive sound, I'm actually going to use a little bit on the lead vocals as well. Let's do that. We'll have to go back to another section.
Keep moving on. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. it lines your clouds. Oh, but it fades when I'm not around.
Swap to headphones for a bit. I find it's easier sometimes with reverb to blend the initial levels on headphones, because it's like it's easier to hear finer details like effects, but then to actually finish the front to back depth, headphones kind of trick you sometimes. So then you want to be using monitors mostly when it comes to reverb, but I've been mixing for half an hour now, so I just need to change it up a bit.
And I would line your clouds with gold if I could, you know I would. But if I did, even the gold would fall as leaves onto your skin.
And now that we've got a good balance, we can start tweaking this a little bit more.
You gotta let the storm sink your ship so you can swim. Just don't let love or money drag you, write it out. And if you can't move on, keep moving on. Keep moving on. Keep moving on.
And there's always just little issues that kind of grab your attention, like that guitar and the right ear guitar low was a bit loud in that bit. So fix it while you think of it, otherwise you could quite easily forget and never get around to it.
Keep moving on. 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 Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time. Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time. Not this time. No, not this time. Come on this time. Whoa. So go. Just go. And go.
The vocals could have a bit of saturation. Just to give them a tiny bit more brightness. They are sounding a bit too warm at points. So this should help just kind of break it up a bit.
So won't you go? Just go. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Just go. Go, 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 go. Just go. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Go, go, go. Just go. Go, 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 go. Go, go, go. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. Keep moving on.
Back vocals are sounding pretty muddy still, so let's get rid of that cut. That one's a bit too loud there.
Keep moving on.
Okay, we're getting there. So let's address the lead vocal now. I'm not going to spend too long on reverb on the other instruments because I think that sounds good, just giving it a room to all exist in. Honestly, that's all I normally do anyway. It's only if I'm working with something that is meant to sound quite modern that you want to start blending different rooms together, different kind of reverb sounds. But in this case, let's just get the vocal right now. I like to use the intro for that sometimes because normally the vocal's the focus there and you want it to sound right when the vocal first comes in.
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't.
So the first thing I'm going to try on a track like this is some plate reverb.
Take a deep breath, you might find.
That's very stereo.
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time.
So that's already sounding a bit dark. If we can't fix this with the low cut, then we can put it on its own bus.
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time. Take a little step and you might fall to the arms of no one at all. Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time. Take a little step and you might fall to the arms of no one.
Sounds pretty good. I'm going to try, this is another one of my favorites for vocals. Just going to reset that. Pre-delay always helps with vocals, and also a slightly shorter time will help them to stick out the mix a bit more.
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time.
It sounds weird in this case. I think we need a slightly longer one.
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time. Take a little step and you might fall to the arms of no one at all. But if you stay, then things might change, but they might not change for the good. Gotta make your head do what your heart knows you should. Just don't let love or money drag you, write it out. And if you...
I just find it's generally quite subtle, and when you tuck it under the vocal, this is just I don't know, I've always liked this as a room reverb on vocals. So let's compare. This is the plate.
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time.
This is the room.
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time. Take a little step and you might fall to the arms of no one at all.
Let's try a longer decay on the plate. This is weird. I never normally use this long or a longer decay on the vocal than I do the room reverb. In this case, it just seems to work, so why not?
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time. Take a little step and you might fall to the arms of no one at all. Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help.
That's a bit too noticeable. I think it's just the way it sounds. It's a bit too thick. And this is the really cool thing about plates, is they do just have a very characteristic sound to them. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Just try this.
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't. Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't.
Whereas the room...
Take a deep breath, you might find that it don't help this time. Take a little step and you might fall to the arms of no one at all.
Yeah, I prefer that. It's sitting really nicely. I'm giving it some space.
So there you go. That's how you apply reverb to a mix. Now, to help you go and actually practice this, we have a free reverb cheat sheet that will walk you through some of the tips and guidelines that we've shared in the past, and also this step-by-step process that you just saw me do there. So when it's time to apply reverb, you're not left guessing what order to do things or how to set it up. It's completely free. Just click on the link on screen now or in the bio below to get instant access. So that's all for today. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'll see you next time, and remember, create regardless.